Aarohi had only been married for 6 months when her world turned upside down. At 26, she was vibrant, strong-willed, and kind, the kind of person who lit up any room she entered. She had married Aarohi, a quiet software engineer who worked long hours and rarely had time to sit and talk. Their relationship had been arranged, and though there was mutual respect, the spark never truly ignited. When Aarohi moved into her in-laws' house in Lucknow, she had no idea that it would be her father-in-law, Mr. Rajveer Singh, who would change her life the most. Rajveer was in his early 50s, a retired army officer with the discipline of a soldier and the heart of a poet. His wife had passed away 3 years ago, and ever since, he'd grown quieter. But the day Aarohi entered his house, something softened in him. Not in a romantic sense. He saw in her a daughter he never had. At first, they were polite. Aarohi would bring him tea, and he would thank her with a nod. But over time, small things began to build a connection between them. He taught her how to care for the bonsai trees in the courtyard. She taught him how to use modern apps to order groceries online. They'd sit in the garden at dusk, sipping tea, talking about life, books, memories. Slowly, their conversations turned into long discussions about the meaning of happiness, loneliness, and loss. Aarohi felt more heard and understood in those moments than she ever did with Aarohi. Rajveer noticed her sadness, too. He was a man who could read people like books. One day, he finally asked her, "Are you happy, Beta?" She looked up, and her eyes welled with tears. "I'm trying." He didn't ask more. He just held her hand, gently, fatherly. That day marked a shift. They began to lean on each other emotionally. Rajveer became the safe place Aarohi never had. Aarohi brought laughter and warmth back into his life. They'd cook together, laugh, even argue playfully. Aarohi started calling him Baji with genuine affection. People in the neighborhood noticed the closeness. Whispers began. Aarohi began to feel distant from his wife, and one night, he even confronted her. "You talk more with my father than with me." She responded honestly, "He listens." The words stung him more than he expected. Still, nothing improper happened between them. It was pure, but powerful. Months passed. Aarohi got a job offer in Singapore and left for a year-long assignment. Aarohi stayed back with Rajveer. Their bond grew stronger. They became each other's support system, but still within the lines of morality and respect. One stormy evening, Aarohi received a call. Rajveer had collapsed in the market. She rushed to the hospital. It was a cardiac arrest. She stayed by his side for 3 days straight, refusing to leave. On the 4th day, he opened his eyes, smiled faintly, and whispered, "You are the daughter I always wished for." Tears rolled down her cheeks. "And you are the father I never had." Just as things seemed to be settling down, Aarohi returned unannounced. He entered the house and walked in on Aarohi and Rajveer sitting in the garden, her head on his shoulder, both laughing about something deeply personal. Aarohi's eyes filled with confusion, then suspicion, and finally anger. "You replace me?" he shouted. Startled, Aarohi stood up. "It's not what you think." But Aarohi was blinded by what he saw. He left the house that night without saying a word. A week later, Aarohi received divorce papers. Rajveer, upon hearing this, fell into silence. He blamed himself. Aarohi tried to reason with Aarohi, explain the purity of their relationship, but his mind was made up. The shock was too much for Rajveer. Days after the divorce was finalized, he passed away in his sleep, peacefully, but with a heavy heart. Aarohi was devastated. She had lost a father, a guide, and the only person who ever truly saw her. At his funeral, she placed a small bonsai tree on his grave, a symbol of growth, care, and quiet strength.